It's Sally Bryant with you on Statewide Drive. It's 19 minutes to 5. And talking technology, and I know I'm not the only one who loves new tech, who loves new innovation. Joined this afternoon by Matt Dickerson. He is a tech aficionado. He's so up to date with this stuff. He hosts his own podcast and he's got some cracking tech innovation to share today. Matt, good afternoon to you.
Good
Happy
afternoon.
2022.
Thank you. Same to you, Sally. Good to be chatting to you.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the innovations that are getting you most excited.
Lots of innovations are getting me excited. There's so many things happening every day, Sally. There's so many things happening in health. Is one of the big areas I think we'll see a lot happening this year. But renewable energy is something that we've seen happening a lot over the years. And one of the latest things that we're seeing at the moment is not just putting solar panels on your roof, but replacing your roof with solar panel shingles. And I think shingles is very much an American word. But it was something that
tiles, basically.
Basically, that's right. Yeah, so it was something that Tesla talked about 5 years ago. They released some shingles, but when people did the numbers, they went, well, it's actually cheaper to build a traditional roof and put solar panels on top than it is to build your whole roof out of the solar panel shingles. So it didn't really go that well. But another company in America now has actually come up with a solution that makes it cheaper to put your roof on made of solar shingles rather than putting a roof on and then putting solar panels on top. So it's getting pretty hard to come up with an argument against putting solar on your roof. One of the other great things about these is they're smaller. As you can imagine, a shingle is much smaller than a normal solar panel. So to get, say, a 10 kilowatt system, I've got 10 kilowatts on my roof and I've got about 50 panels on my roof. If you were to do the same out of these, you'd put about 200 shingles on your roof. But that's a good thing because it means that if you get a little bit of shading, or let's say you had something on your roof, an antenna or a chimney, if you had a chimney, a very old chimney, for example, then that little bit of shading would not affect your overall production of power by very much. Whereas with solar panels, normally they're in little segments. So if you get shading on one part, it actually affects your overall production of electricity quite significantly. So having the shingles is actually a really good thing for those smaller shingles.
The other thing I like about this thing, Matt, is that it sounds like there's less redundancy in the actual building itself. I mean, you've got one shingle or one tile doing a couple of jobs.
That's exactly right. They're part of the building, as you would expect. They keep the rain out. You can walk across them like you would walk across a normal roof. So they're just, for all intents and purposes, they're just a new type of roofing material. It just so happens that they're producing electricity for you as well. And my first thought when I was looking up this article, I thought, well, they're probably not going to be that efficient because surely if they're built to be strong enough to have people walk over them and if they're part of the roof structure and they're actually made so you can nail them in like you would a normal shingle, surely they're not going to be that good. But they're actually producing 22.6% efficiency, which is not too bad. Most really advanced solar panels now are only getting up to around, say, 24, maybe 25%. So they're not far away from a normal solar panel that you would put on your roof.
Now, there has been recently a bit of discussion about solar panels needing to be, they wear out, they can no longer be used, and whether or not they're recyclable. What's the situation with these tiles, these shingles? How long are they going to last?
Well, most solar panels, and these are included in that, get about a 25-year guarantee. And that's not so much a guarantee that they'll keep working for 25 years and they'll stop. As with any guarantees, a manufacturer has a fair bit of wiggle room in there. So if they think they can last 50 years, they might give a 25-year guarantee. And these are no different. They've got a 25-year guarantee on them. So the manufacturers are quite confident they'll keep lasting for a long period of time. But what sometimes happens with things like solar panels, and batteries come into this as well, they don't necessarily stop working and that's it, but they might reduce their efficiency. So instead of getting 22.6% efficiency, in 25, 30 years' time, they might be down to 20% or 18%. So they may keep working after that time frame for a long period of time. And then one big industry, Sally, going forward will be recycling of a lot of these renewable things, whether it be batteries, whether it be solar panels. So companies are working out ways to take the materials, and some of these materials are quite rare or quite expensive to mine in the first place. So take those materials and use them again, and that's much smarter from the manufacturer's perspective, but also good from the planet's perspective.
Yeah, it cheers you up when you hear that stuff. Now, to move from something as high as the roof and as important as, recycling and solar industry, changing TV channels. This is, it's quite a prosaic story, but I think it's delicious. You don't have to get off your couch to change the channel. But then what happens when the battery goes flat in your remote?
And I talked to someone the other day and they told me that they had that exact first world problem. They wanted to change their channel and the battery was flat and that was a major drama for them. I'm just going to go back in history a little bit, Sally. I want to go back to 1900. On the 20th of March 1900, US patent number 645576 was granted in the name of Nikola Tesla. Now, Tesla's obviously very famous around a lot of innovations that he came up with 120, 130 years ago. But he became obsessed with this idea, and this particular patent was the idea that you could transmit electrical energy over the air over some distance. Now, he was really obsessed with that, but he never got it to work. And it wasn't that the theory was wrong, but it was just so much power was required at the place where you produce the power. When it went out in 3 dimensions, it lost its power very quickly. So he had this idea that you put a light bulb on the desk with no wires connected to it and it would light up. It sounds fantastic, but again, it never came to fruition. But now Samsung have done something using this same concept from Tesla, but with much lower power. So you talk about the remote control for your TV. It doesn't use much power, and it's not using power very often. It's only when you press the button, unless you're a real channel surfer and you're pressing the button constantly, but you're not using the button very often. So what Samsung have done with their latest range of TVs, and they probably prefer we're talking about their TVs, but I love the remote, it uses Wi-Fi in your house or wherever you might have Wi-Fi. It's got enough power in that Wi-Fi to charge up the remote. Now, the first thing you think is, well, that's fine, but it'll charge up batteries. But Samsung have said, well, batteries create a whole bunch of landfill when you replace them. So instead of using batteries, why don't we use capacitors? And capacitors store energy. Batteries store energy in a chemical fashion. A capacitor stores energy, to make it really simple, it's probably a bit like static electricity. So it stores it there for a fairly low amount of power in a fairly short period of time, but enough for you to get power out of the air with Wi-Fi. When you press the button and change channels or change the volume, for example, it's got enough power in that capacitor from what it's harvested from Wi-Fi that it will give you that power, and you just end up with a remote with no battery and no need to charge the remote up or charge anything on it. It just uses Wi-Fi in the air. So it's Tesla's model in a very low power version finally realised.
And in the most important application of all, and that is in the remote for the telly. To use an expression that the fancy young people are using these days, Matt, mind blown. That is just amazing.
It is. Now, Samsung actually in their marketing say that in America alone, there are approximately 99 million discarded batteries of the alkaline variety. So that's the AAA, the AA, those sort of batteries. So this isn't going to solve all of those 99 million that are thrown away, but at least it goes some part of the way. And if we can start down this track, who knows, we might be talking in a year's time, Sally, and suddenly there'll be other things that can be powered by the Wi-Fi in our house.
Just extraordinary. Now, I could talk to you about this all day, this technology stuff, but I'm finishing up with you today on this new website to help find rapid antigen tests.
What I do love about technology and being in the technology game is that I see solutions that come up out of nowhere very quickly to address not problems that existed 2 years, 10 years ago, but problems that existed 5 minutes ago. And that's exactly what happened. This was a software development company, and they saw the problem with people trying to find a rapid antigen test. And people were talking about it. There was some discussion on social media. How do you find it? And so this company said, well, why don't we create a website? And that's its entire focus. Now, what's really nice about this is it doesn't rely on a pharmacy or a company saying, we've now got them. It's relying on you and I, Sally. So when we go to a pharmacy or go to somewhere to buy a rat, then we find we've found a place that's got some. Fantastic. So we put that location in this particular site, and now that's updated. So anyone else that's looking for some knows that there's some at this particular location. And I actually used it. I was in Sydney last week, and I actually used this particular website, and what I found was it worked fantastically for a short period of time. You had to be at that particular pharmacy pretty quickly, otherwise they'd still sell out. But at least you didn't go and visit all the ones that were already sold out, and the website would show you these ones are sold out, these ones have got stock coming tomorrow, these ones have got them now. Quick, get there, because in 10 minutes' time they'll be on the sold out category.
That's fantastic. Don't you love the way people's minds work?
Yeah.
You know, the people who are coming up with all this new tech, they see an issue, they see a gap there in the landscape, and they go, you know what? I'm going to try and do something about this. I'm going to try and find a way to sort this out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And while we can sit around and wait for governments to find more supplies or give it out free to people or whatever, people just come up with solutions, and often they are technology solutions because technology often is very agile, moves very quickly. But this is a great example of that. Now, this site will probably be useless in a couple of months' time because we won't need rapid antigen tests anymore. But while we need it, it's there and it's working, and go and have a look at it.
Oh, you got to love tech solutions. Lovely to talk to you again this afternoon, Matt.
My pleasure, Sally.
Matt Dickerson, he is a tech guru. And I tell you what, technology is solving the problems of the world. 9 minutes away from 5.